I challenge the status quo on things, and I'm definitely and proudly an opportunist. I am not a big goal setter. I've got a direction, but not a mission. The definition of entrepreneurship is idea plus execution. Now, there are millions of ideas, but people can't execute.
Business is a lot around building trust. Through storytelling, you can feel authenticity.
I think we are all being trained to be a good communicator, which means we are good at speaking. There's hardly any training that you see how to listen better. The business is when the owner is not in the board of directors, is not part of the organization chart. That is where the real business, now it's an asset.
That, in fact, is why we listed as a public company, was only to look bigger than we are.
I reckon by the time the first slide, they'd already made up their mind that we were the ones for them. You either accept it, you deal with it, or you forget about it.
I suppose I challenge the status quo on things, and I'm definitely and proudly an opportunist. And I take opportunities. I took an opportunity to come here today.
You did. You could have said no.
I could have said no, but hey, it was something different, and I love different things.
What do you mean by opportunist? What does that mean?
Means I am not a big goal setter. So you asked what my mission is. I haven't got a long mission out here. I've got a direction, but not a mission. And so I take opportunities as they come along. And so if I had a goal, it might be too narrow for me, and I want to go and wander off here a little bit, off the beaten track. Things that are, people tend to complicate things, and I can simplify them very quickly.
What's happening in your thinking, in your brain, in your decision making when you're doing that? It's simple, like it's easy to say I simplify things, but what does that really mean?
I just think, I think people make things complex, and I make them simple. I see something which someone else might have done. I'm just copying someone else, copying the concept. The definition of entrepreneurship is idea plus execution. Now, there are millions of ideas, but people can't execute. And so being able to see, and entrepreneurs can see the future. They can go from here to there and can see, hey, all the things that you need to do. And so if you go in, and this is quite disciplined, I suppose, it is quite disciplined, is that I look, hey, what things can I be different on a very, very old concept, the 4 Ps, on price, promotion, place, and...
One more thing.
Yeah, one more thing.
We'll come to you.
So product, product, price, promotion, and place. So if I'm going to be different on my product, if I can be different on my pricing, on my promotion, and distribution, if I can do it on all 4 of them, there's a fair chance I'm going to get that one right. But if I can just even on 1 or 2 of them, I'm then looking out, hey, why? The question's always, why will the consumer buy this thing? And I think that's why, companies like Fonterra, they're never going to go to anyone else, because I think you can trust a public company more. They're not going to, there was a contaminant in the water, that even if it wasn't harmful, we'd immediately tell health department, immediately stop production, etc. While a private company may, hey, there's nothing wrong with it, nobody will notice. They wouldn't. So people trust bigger companies. And even though we were small, companies like Fonterra trust us.
How did you look big? How did you make the company look big?
We look big. You look big by saying, hey, we're number one. You come out.
But before you even being number one, you say that you're number one.
Yeah. You just presume you're number. You assume, for their sake, that you are number one, and you look the part. So they see your advertising. Everything you do is just looks. You get your website, just looks professional.
Basically, my idea was that I wanted to become an expert. And
so in order for you to become an expert, you chose the direction of having teaching people something,
exactly.
Learning, that kind of being a teacher so that you can actually handle what you're like calling it communication in today's age. So if someone wants to become an expert, one of the things that they need to do is to learn how to teach.
I think that's the most important thing. So anything that I would like to learn, I see if I can teach that. Because you become an expert by teaching. You don't become an expert just by absorbing information. So that was very good learning as a beginning of my career, that I could learn anything. If I want to learn anything, I just need to teach. And even if I'm learning and not teaching, I need to get the mindset that I need to teach this. So the moment you do that, the understanding concept becomes quite different, because you're now from a perceiver that I would like to share this. And the knowledge that is shared is actually automatically somehow grows.
So would you say that you are good at talking to people?
I don't know if I can say that. I think it is more to do with I enjoy talking to people.
Surely after all these years, you're very good at it.
I don't know that. I think that's a feedback that people should give.
If someone wants to be really good at talking to people and learning how to do that in this day and age, from your experience of how you got on, what was the number one thing? Like, if you like, just recap it for us. What is it that they can do to be really good at talking to each other?
This is where the problem is that we are always talking communication in terms of talking. Communication is not about talking. Communication fundamentally is about listening. And that's where I think the word that we use, communication, is a good communicator. Fundamentally, there is a challenge in that, because we always speak about speaking. Communication starts by listening. If you want to become a good communicator, we have to become an even better listener.
Do you think that's happening well in the corporate world at the moment?
Not really, because I think we are all being trained to be a good communicator, which means we are good at speaking. Not really. There's hardly any training that you see how to listen better.
The thing about listening well and speaking well, how can you listen well?
I think number one point about listening is being present. Because I read somewhere, I fundamentally think this is correct, that when you speak, you are absent. Because often when you have spoken something, you realize, oh, why did I say that? Whereas in listening, that never happens, right? You would never say that, oh, why did I listen that way? Because listening is all about being present. So fundamentally, if we are present with a person, there's something that opens in the person. And from that, there is a hope for communication. Most, I think, the conflicts are about people are not being heard, people are not being understood. I think fundamentally the communication concept needs to change. It needs to come to the fundamentals of listening, understanding, validating, seeing. Once we do that, then once that part is done, we move to now communicate.
Quick one. Mina here. Thank you for watching this episode. I appreciate you. Thank you for all your support. One thing that you can do for me is to please hit the subscribe button below. I promise you that if you hit subscribe, I'm going to work hard to make sure that my episodes are really good, that will get better and better. So, do we have a deal? Okay, back to the episode. How can you listen well and how can you be present well? You talked about listening, but how can you be present? What does it mean to be present in a corporate sense, in a business ownership sense, in an entrepreneurship sense, when you're like busy or full, doing a lot of things and a lot is on your mind? Like, that's what the issue is with a lot of business people. There's a lot of noise inside our head that, like, speaking for myself, I find it difficult to get to be in the present. In fact, I was reflecting about that this morning, how sometimes I find myself either in the future of what is coming next or in the past and what has happened and how did that happen and why did that happen. But I should really be in the present. And I feel like if I feel like I'm going to be in the present, thinking about the present, then I'm missing out on planning for the future. How does that work? Like, from your experience, what have you found to work in terms of, do you do it consciously or subconsciously? What's the method?
Coming back to your example, you you are seeing that you are going in the future. You're thinking about the future, but that is also happening in the present, right? When you're going in your past, that's also happening in the present. You're just choosing to go in your past. You're just choosing to go in your future. When you choose to be in present, you choose to be in present.
So how do you know that you're in the present?
When you're in present, there is some sort of, you feel it, number one, because everybody is seeking it. Everybody is seeking presence. One of the fundamental things I realize in my sessions when I'm working with my team or in coaching, everybody wants to be present. But they choose to be in future, they choose to be in past, because the mind is just trained like that, okay, if I get that, I'll be happy. If I fix that, I'll be happy. If I do that, I'll be happy. But the moment you actually drop those things, suddenly you realize that you are in present. And when you are in present, I think the best judge is like how the other person is feeling in your presence. If the person is feeling calmer, the other person is feeling more quieter, that also tells that you are present.
That's very interesting what you're saying, because if you feel that you are calm and quiet or have a sense of solitude, then that's an indication that you are present. If someone makes you feel agitated and anxious, are they not with you? They're physically there, but they're not.
Often that's the case, that we want their presence. Like at home, we want their presence. We want to be heard. We want to be understood. We want to be acknowledged. And all of these things happen only in the present moment. You can't be watching TV and then listening to me deeply, because it's not possible. The presence happens only at one. The thing which I learned about presence, it actually happens only with one thing or one person. You can't be multitasking presence. So when you are fully present with a person, not watching your phone, not going somewhere in the future or in the past, the other person starts feeling it. And once the other person starts feeling it, you would see that there's an impact on their conscious. They start feeling more calmer. They start feeling relaxed. And I think a lot of coaches use that. A lot of coaches have a good presence. And that's how people feel very comfortable in their presence.
What are some of the rules that are not helpful for entrepreneurs and CEOs in this present day that they are following, that they perhaps might not be as useful for them?
I think fundamentally, all business or leaders are trained to believe that business is struggle. It's a lot of hard work. And it's actually a belief. Whereas it's a very creative job. Leadership is a very creative job. So when you see that I am actually doing this job to be more creative, your mindset shifts from struggle again, coming back to, you want to focus on struggles or you want to be creative. If you focus, I'm going to fix the struggle, you'll have probably more struggles, because that's what universe thinks you like more. Whereas when you say, I'm going to be very creative in solving this, then I'll be creative in solving the next step, and then I'll be more creative. So there's more harmony in that creation. It is more holistic. You are not only working for yourself, you're working for a bigger purpose. If I would say, I'm not happy today, so he would give me some money and he'll say, okay, now go and make someone else happy. And I would say, why should I spend money on someone else? He would say, you will realize it. And then you have to go and help someone who needs it. So I would go and buy some cooked toffees or chocolates, and I would go and, give it to the poorest children who would start dancing by getting that. And I would come home and I'll say, I suddenly feel quite happy. What is that? He said, whatever you share is what you're going to get. That's the only lesson in life. If that we apply in business, for example, that's the only lesson. Whatever we share is what we are going to get. So that's a lot of wisdoms like that he used to share, and I still have a lot of stories.
That is a very profound and beautiful reflection.
If someone is asking me about understanding the business, what context of the business, I would always say that business is about creating asset. Business is not about doing anything else except creating assets. So anything you do in your business, have you created an asset? That's the fundamental lesson about business. And that asset is what really business worth. Is not how much you earn, how much is the money currently the business is making, because the markets are always changing. The new product might come in and suddenly you'll have a challenge. But has the business created assets, which is now making the business worth? I think that is where I would always tell a business owner to focus on. And ultimately, that's what really business is all about.
What do you say asset? What do you really mean?
Could be anything like, for example, you have figured out the marketing process. So you have got the business asset, which is maybe your software, maybe your team, the people. Maybe you have got the system in place where now you know how to do marketing well. And now that is your business asset. So which is actually working without you being in the business. And that asset is where the business really lies. And that asset gives you money, that asset gives you income. But then the moment that asset is gone, your business is gone. So fundamentally, I think people believe that business is there to generate income, which is fine. I think they're a part of it. But as a business owner, our job is to create asset in the business. The business becomes the asset.
How can, for someone like listening or watching, thinking, well, I would love to create a good asset, whether they have a good one already, whether they are in the process of creating something great, or maybe like coming up against some challenges in terms of how you're going to create such assets in your business. What are the fundamental steps that you would have to take to ensure that you're getting that asset up and running and, it's actually bringing you money, but you're working to grow it and make it better and better?
I think we can take some examples like McDonald's. They don't make the best burger in the world, right? But their asset is the operations process. They have figured it out. Wherever you go in the world, their asset is that the operation is their asset. Similarly, Coke is not water, but still people drink Coke. So they have figured out that the advertisements that they run is their asset. They have figured out how to run local campaigns worldwide and make Coke as a brand anywhere in the world. You may have a lot of money, but doesn't mean that you will have the asset of creating that product in that market. Coke has figured it out. Similarly, when you look at Microsoft, their asset is their softwares. So these softwares earn money for them. It's not that they are running a business to just generate money. They are running a business to create assets, and the asset gives them money. So the more the asset becomes in the more softwares Microsoft has, more income Microsoft creates. So in my business, in your business, how much is the asset that you and I are creating would define how much is our business worth. Not necessarily how much it is producing today. It may not be giving income right away. Sometimes it takes years before you start making money. But in that period, you have created that business asset. And that asset is what business is really needs to be the focus for any business owner.
Some of the insights that I would like to know from you about why do you think businesses still need the help of the outside companies to help them run their businesses? Why aren't we all able to know exactly what to do, learn it once, apply it?
Yeah.
Why do we have to have...
It's a great question, actually, because this is also, I think, again, going back to the ancient wisdom is, and I can relate with that.
Yeah.
So we were actually in the farms, and in those days we used to have like tractor, big, like still is the same one, but the old way of... So we used to like call something like a water pump. The water used to come from the tube bell, and we would have a tractor. And so once I sat on the tractor and I said, I'm going to run it. And I'll figure it out. Like I was probably 12 years old or 13 years old. And I said, my grandfathers told me to ask my own questions and figure things out. I'll run the tractor and what's the big deal? And of course, not having a good training, no coaching. The moment I put the key, it started doing that. I got scared. I switched it off, and I very with a lot of fear, I did share this story with my grandfather, and I said I did that. He said, "What did you learn from this?" I said, "I need to learn doing how to run a tractor." He said, "But how would you become perfect?" I said, "If I practice, I'll get perfect." He said, "Both answers are wrong." I said, "What is wrong? It's like, this is how everybody learns, right?" He said, "No. First, you get training from the master who actually knows the tractor so well that you don't really need to figure things out." I said, "But you used to tell us that figure things out." He said, "I used to tell you how to run a tractor is your question, right? So first find the master who runs the tractor well." I said, "Okay, and what is the second step?" He said, "Don't practice. Practice the right things. Because if you get into the mindset of practice makes everyone perfect, you will actually be trapped, because then you will have to unlearning will become the right practice makes it right, makes it perfect." And I said, "Yeah." So I was actually then found a master who actually ran the tractor, and asked him for some lessons. There were small tips, change a lot of things. So as a business owner, if you find someone who's already successful, has already done it, could be your trainer, could be your mentor, you will do the right practice to get perfect. Otherwise, you will be figuring out how to switch on the tractor, how to run the steering wheels, where to put this thing, what do you do when the tractor gets stuck, what happens when it rains, how do you cover the tractor. You wouldn't know this. You will be figuring each step on the way. And that's where, so company needs to hire people who have already done it. Often what happens at the organization, which multinational experience that I have, we go to other big companies who we hire consultant, and we want them to tell us what we need to do, but they have never done it themselves. We need to find people who have done it. If I am a media person, I would find a media person who has done it. They'll be expensive. They'll be very difficult to get, but they hold the key, because the right practice will make the right perfect, right? So most organizations, I think they like to go through the shortcut that, okay, let's hire this big consulting firm and they'll give us the answer. But they have never done it themselves. So you don't go to someone who has never done it. So my approach has always been that in the companies I've worked in, my mentors are the people who are actually 1 or 2 level up. I would go and sit with them and I'll say, could you mentor me and tell me what you did, which made you reach here faster than others? And there are not many things, Meena, in that. There are only 1 or 2 things extra they were doing. I think I was looking at this Roger Federer speech, and he said he was only winning 54% times. The other people probably were winning 49% or 46%, but he was winning 54% and he became a champion. You just need to be 1% extra. You just need to be 1% better. And to get that right mentor, right advisor, right guru, is the journey that we all need to have. But once we find them, it makes it much easier.
Here's $10,000. Tell me what it is. What's the masterclass sort of points?
Yeah, I think that's $1 million question, but I'll have a go at answering it.
I'll give you $1 million.
So understanding your strengths and your weaknesses, and having the ability to put good people around you that you trust. And I think life, business, is a lot around building trust and storytelling, and expanding your comfort zone. I was terrified to get up on stage when I first started my business, but I just kept doing it. And there's an amazing 5-minute video by a Kiwi entrepreneur, Claudia Batten. it's probably my favorite 5 minutes. If for people want to look it up, it's Ignite Boulder, Claudia Batten. And it just distills everything I think about entrepreneurship in a 5-minute video. I think she's amazing entrepreneur. But keep doing things every single day towards your goal. Know it's going to be hard. Try and have a positive outlook. Do good things for good people, and test and iterate. Don't be scared to, if you don't think something's working, to change things. And I think probably the most important thing is the people you surround yourself with, because you can't do everything on your own. And if you surround yourself with people that you can trust implicitly and have complementary skills, kind of the sky's the limit. But on the other side, if you bring the wrong people on, it can be really painful and really obstructive. And I think it helps being an optimist, because,
So you're also before I ask you the second question, I think those points are quite key, because you've got trust, doing something every day, testing things out, and the people. That's what I have in my notes.
Yeah, and storytelling. I think storytelling is also really important.
I actually would love to go into the storytelling, because I wanted to say, well, why do you say storytelling is quite an important part, and that I don't hear business owners talk about that much.
Well, if you think even about like money, right? Money is a form of trust and a story, because money used to be like, pegged to gold and things like that. So it had real value, but nowadays it doesn't actually have real value. It's just that we trust the stories and we trust the banks and things like that, but it hasn't actually got intrinsic value. And I think as humans, we're built on these stories and our own experiences, which are again stories. And there are stories that resonate with people. So like rags to riches, triumph against adversity, David versus Goliath, those kind of themes. And if you think about communication, like how do you engage someone? You tell them a story, like, that's what kind of life's about. And through storytelling, you can feel authenticity, you can feel personality, and how do you be different? Like there's that whole, I don't even know who coined the phrase, zig when everyone else is zagging. If everybody's doing one thing one way, then there's probably an opportunity to do it a different way. It might be the same thing, because how do you stand out? And storytelling is about that standing out. It's been absolutely foundational in Pure SEO's success. And also, like, I sold part of the business 2014 to Tony Falkenstein and Ian Malcolm. And Tony's a very successful entrepreneur in his own right. And Ian is my accountant, he's an accountant. And the business wouldn't be in the shape it is without their expertise and their experience. And I think there's a lot to be said for bringing in people who know more than you and who have been there and done it and running things past. You don't always agree, but even if you don't agree, you've got to respect their opinion, and you walk out as a united front. And the other thing is transparency. Like, don't hide anything from business partners, because if something bad happens, like, they should know about it immediately. They shouldn't find out about it from somebody else. And so I value that transparency above all else. And I say the same to my staff. If something's happened, don't try and hide it or cover it up or fix it yourself. You're never going to be, I've never shouted at anyone in 15 years of being a CEO. I don't raise my voice. I don't get angry at people, because it doesn't achieve anything. And it's, you just start to put people on edge, and then they start to perform worse. Which is the antithesis of what Elon Musk does, but he's massively successful in getting things out of people. But it's kind of it's the people around you and the experience they have that helps you sort of round out your ideas and bounce them off people, because it's quite lonely being a sole CEO and founder. You can't necessarily go to your staff members for support, or because there's different problems and they're not worried about how to make payroll or something like that. Whereas when you've got experienced people around you, then you can have those conversations.
At that point, they'd been around for circa 35 years, and and I just had no idea. So it wasn't by direction for me that property was where I was going. It was that sliding doors moment where I had someone that saw something in me, that gave me an opportunity, and I've hopefully can reward that trust and that opportunity through giving back through the trust and through to Bayleys.
It's such a cool story because I all I think about right now is what did you say in that presentation that made John go, this dude is something that I want to hire you and want you to work for me.
I can't remember what I said. I do remember there was three recipients, who had received a scholarship that day. And I do remember that I had about a page and a half of notes, and my other two recipients got up there and basically looked into the crowd and went, thank you very much, and then went and sat down. So I think part of it was around preparation. I think I had the opportunity, and whether it's real estate or whether it's whatever your listeners are into, you when you get that opportunity to be ready to take that moment. And as I say, I don't know what I said, but I think probably the way in which it was delivered was maybe what JB actually picked up and thought, well, let's have a chat and see where this goes. Demand meets where I was where I thought I was at that time in my career, and that's why I jumped into that opportunity. What was the mistakes? I think I wanted it to all happen way too quickly. It's probably something I still need to learn 20 years later, is to slow down and bring more people along the journey and to make sure that they are more sustainable decisions around growth and not just jumping it.
I want to zoom into that and get into the wanting to get things done too fast, wanting to get the right people on your team. If someone listening to this going, actually, this is something that I struggle with and I'm in the middle of it right now and I just don't know how to get out of it. Can you walk us through that specific example of wanting to get things done too fast and then how do you know that you were going too fast? What were the indicators that you're going too fast? Please slow down. Did you get a mentor? Did you get a business course? Did you start losing sales? How did it look like?
Yeah, it's a hard one to answer because often you can't see it until it's actually, I wouldn't say too late, but the opposite side to this is ambition. And we want to encourage ambition in all of our people. So we don't want to be going so slowly and not taking risks and not wanting to invest in people because we're so wanting to get everything lined up in a row before you even start.
That's right, yeah.
Yet on the other side, you don't want to be, ready, fire, aim, which is something we talk about, that kind of.
Yeah.
So achieving that balance, I think, is more about the people rather than maybe indicators. It's about having the time to listen and spend more time, two of these and one of these, to your people, and actually being able to read, that we talk a lot about that EQ and reading that mood of people. So I don't know that I've still got it right. I don't know that there is an answer. But I think having a group of people around you, whether they're, as you say, whether they're a mentor or a coach, whether they're a colleague or whether they're even your own team, but to have a high level of trust and a high level of engagement where you've got people who've got each other's best interests at heart that can say, hey, why don't we just kind of keep going on this one, but maybe we'll just hold off over here for a bit.
How did you build the trust, or what was your understanding of the trust back in the day, which probably we've just sort of tapped into because we talked about the ambitiousness and going too fast and slowing down and caring for people. What do you understand building trust with your clients now mean?
Look, a huge question.
Yeah, it is.
I think trust starts at a brand level. So, to work for a Bayleys gets you in so far. I don't think it gets you to the finish line. It doesn't get you the agency agreement signed, but it does get you through the door. So I think a huge platform for me and for our people is to be able to, as you said at the top of the show, it's a trusted name. Okay, cool. I'm starting here with someone that I've heard of. These guys have been around for 50 years, so that helps. I then think people or agents in the real estate sense have got 3 things they can sell. And the trust piece, I think, is a combination of these. And again, like I mentioned before, actually comes down to that individual. Again, a corporate landlord will want a different degree of trust than a mum and dad selling their residential home. But the 3 levels at the most simple level is time. So we can all offer time. So are you coming to follow up with me? Are you in my living room? Are we, do you always feel rushed? Are you not returning my calls? Because I've got to trust that you're going to give me your time, because I want you to do my open homes and do the follow-ups and be able to negotiate the deal. Everyone's got time. How they use it, that's another story, and we can get into AI and automation and a whole thing around that, but that's different. The second is about the network. So can you sell this property for me? How many people do you know or can you reach through what you do? Because if I'm going to trust you with this, I want to know that I'm going to expose the property to the biggest audience or the most relevant audience possible. So that might go to track record, time in the seat, maybe some recent profile or recent opportunity that they'd seen, an event or an editorial in a paper, whatever that might be. And the third thing is value. Do you understand my property? You can come and tell me you've got all the time in the world. You can come and tell me you've got all the network in the world. But if you don't understand what makes my house different, then I don't want to, I don't want you to represent me out there. If you don't represent the value that I see here, if you don't understand what the special features are, whether it's a certain bench top on a kitchen, whether it's a certain flow, whether it's a certain school zone or a certain trend that's maybe happening in the market. If you don't understand those, then I can't build the trust with you to go and represent my biggest asset to 100 people coming through an open home on the weekend. So the first thing is to understand your customer the best you can, then prepare for that meeting. And I don't care if this is real estate or what any of your listeners are in. I think the process is the same. Because if I turn up there and say, "Hi, Mina, I've sold 100 houses in Takapuna this month, and I've got the best number 1 record at da-da-da-da-da," and you go, "Well, that's great. I'm actually here to talk to you today about selling a property in Remuera." You've completely missed the mark, right? You've burned that trust down before I've even had a chance to hear. Anyway, we turned up there, and I reckon we spent about 10 minutes trying to plug in a computer. It had the wrong portal, the wrong whatever you call it, dongle connector. It was kind of really awkward, and we hadn't prepared any printed packs. We were probably running 5 minutes late to get in that room. I reckon by the time the first slide made it up on the board, they'd already made up their mind that we were the ones for them. And it goes back to that preparation, no matter what it is, whether it's real estate or other. It comes back to that preparation, that contingency, that thought through. I can't even tell you if our strategy was any good. I can't even remember if our pitch was any good. But because we were poorly prepared, we were 5 minutes late. We weren't set up with tech. We hadn't reached out in advance to ask if they've got a, USB-C or whatever, HDMI, whatever the cable was. We had set the tone for the meeting before we'd started. And that's an example of where I'll never do that again.
I'm sure you've come up with so many. We've talked about people and relationships and how we communicate. But what are some other challenges that you're facing right now as a lead of a notable organisation like Bayleys?
Yeah, look, I'll get to right now. I think the other challenges that we face are those external challenges, and they can cause a lot of stress, a lot of worry, and I hate that word worry. But they can cause this kind of, whether it's COVID, we talked about that, whether it's a black swan event like a GFC. And again, I think the learnings and the mistakes is, again, trying to change too much or trying to panic too much and control things we can't. I was reading something the other day, you either accept it, you deal with it, or you forget about it. Those are the only options you got. But there's no point worrying about it or trying to change those external things. And if you can try and remove those external distractions, I think that helps when we say, what are the challenges we deal with? Let's actually focus that on the challenges that we can address, that we can make some impact on. I can't change the property market today. I can't change the fact that we're 18% off 2022 peak in value and that volumes are down. So that's a challenge that I have to accept. And rather than worrying about that, how do we find an opportunity in that? And it's a safe place to innovate because it's in their DNA, because it's in the family DNA. I think we can have anybody from a student who's been there for 6 months through to a senior leader of our business that can offer ideas on innovation in a safe environment where their idea will be heard. It'll be given a forum for discussion, and they know that it's not lip service. They know that if it's actually got value, that the business is in a position where it can take that on board and make that change. There's no point having innovative ideas and having hackathons and all these things if at the end of it, nothing actually comes in terms of change.